Welcome to Source Not Found, podcast about the worst versions of your favorite things. Every other week, we take an IP, franchise, or fandom and examine it solely through its sequels, spin-offs, and side projects. Basically anything but the source material. My name is Beau Woodall, and I am Mirth's beautifully styled hair.
And I'm Brandon June, and God, I need a cherry Coke.
God damn it, I was going to do that one. Perfect. Love it.
I was worried that you might.
It was close. It was close.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the first examination of what is, I say first examination, but it's the examination of our first real dive into King Arthur in media, and it is through Matt Wagner's Mage, a graphic novel.
I see you've decided on Wagner.
I did. I'm pretty sure it's correct.
Wagner? Matt Wagner.
I know.
Right.
I know I made choices.
I'm going Wagner.
I made choices in our King Arthur 101 episode. I'm pretty sure it's Wagner, though.
Le Mort de Wagner.
You're such a fucking asshole. But
yeah,
we are doing the first graphic novel of Mage by Matt Wagner, The Hero Discovered, released initially in a 15-issue run, written and illustrated by him, starting in 1984.
That surprised me, actually. I didn't know much about this going in. I didn't place it that far back. Like, even after, I read through the whole thing and then kind of after the fact looked at some information about its publication. Older than I expected.
So this guy did some full-on, George R.R. Martin, Pat Rothfuss shit.
I saw that.
The Hero Discovered was released from 1984 to 1986. And then The Hero, Defined was released starting in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Hero Denied, the last series, ended in 2017. The last issue was released.
That's pretty wild.
This guy's been writing this series for damn near 50 years.
But not consistently, right? So he stepped away from it, right? There hasn't been a lot of interstitial releases. It's been these.
So I have questions
parts
about
of the
that,
story.
Because
okay.
So let's start kind of slowly here. This graphic novel, again, the first issue was released in 1984 by Comic Co, I believe.
Yeah.
And then it was
Yeah.
bought by Image Comics in 2002. And one was then released as a graphic novel and then subsequent issues moving forward. But
is that how you first encountered it? The Image release?
My first encountering of it was actually Comico. I found one issue of it. God. Okay, this is a bit of a story, so please, everyone, stick with me. I promise. I'll try to keep it brief.
I'm buckled in.
My grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, owned an entire block of property in Paducah, Kentucky. His house, his son's house, and four other houses on this block, and he rented them out and did all the upkeep for these homes personally.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually charged rent 10% below the expected rent rate of the neighborhood. He was a genuinely good dude, I think. This was well before I understood what finances was, but I think he was a pretty good guy. One of his tenants was a dude named Josh. and Josh didn't pay rent for 6 months straight.
Mm-hmm.
At 5 months, my grandfather said, if you don't pay your rent for the next month, 1 month, not the previous 5, if you don't pay your rent for the next month, I'm going to have to ask you to vacate the premises. No response. Old boy up and bailed, left all of his shit behind. Like, I don't know where he went. I hope he's well. The whole thing. But like, he left all of his furniture. He left everything in his little storage shed. And in his storage shed was a bunch of wildly inappropriate magazines for a 4-year-old to see.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I hid a few of those bad boys until I was 11 years old. And
wait, you hid them from yourself for 7 years?
No, I hid them.
You grabbed them as a 4-year-old?
I hid them from everyone else because they felt taboo. Like, I didn't know what they meant yet, you know? Like,
okay. No, I love the image of little Beau, like as a 4-year-old, like, these are naughty. I'm not ready for these, but I think I will be someday.
I will be ready for these eventually. Give me a couple of years and these bad boys are going to be stuck together. But there was also a box of comic books. And I had not seen a comic book before. Again, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I had no idea. My great grandfather gave me these comic books. Within them were Batman versus Predator, Warrior Nun Aurelia, comic books from like 1991, 92.
Yeah,
and then the first issue of Mage the Hero Discovered.
Just curious, were there any xenomorphs in with the naughty section?
God, I wish.
Those can get pretty sensual. It's pretty sexual.
No, they really don't.
There.
I don't think that's true.
What? Xenomorphs? As in the H.R. Giger very phallic creation? Sure. They're sexual as shit.
Yeah, but they don't fuck. Like,
everything they do feels like fucking. Like, everything feels very graphic in those movies, right?
Their fluids are acid.
I mean, but again, very viscous fluids dripping from very phallic head protuberance things, and it's Giger. It's
I
it's
get
not
it.
Like sexy sexual, but it's sexual.
No, I get what you're saying. Are you okay?
I was asking as a general question. I'm not revealing anything. This isn't me projecting.
Are you sure?
No.
I'm not. Listeners, come at Brandon. Get him good. But so there was this box of comic books, and a lot of them were your classic, like, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Batman stuff. But then you had the kind of wild, like, Batman versus Predator, Warrior and Aurelia, and you had just a single issue of Mage, the Hero Discovered, issue 1. And I was like, this is different. And I put it aside. And I mean, like, you know, again, I was like 5 years old. I didn't care. I wanted the explosions and shit. And as I'm sure we're going to talk about in a second, this comic book is not about that. So that's where it left off until high school, maybe.
Okay.
And that's when I saw the hardcover collection for the first time. So I think it was
Okay.
my junior or senior year of high school. The comic book store that I frequented, he was like, "Man, we just got this hardcover collection in. These were all published way back in the day, but it's a real good book. You should check it out." And I was like, "All right, cool." And I ended up picking it up. And I didn't necessarily fall in love with the story, but I certainly fell into it.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you think it had any, like, you having that sort of nostalgia? It's hard to call it nostalgia because you had a brief experience as a really young kid seeing one issue, but there was some kind of like basis there for like experience and kind of being, intrigued by it at a young
maybe.
age.
I think more than anything, the thing that strikes me the strongest about this story, and we'll actually jump into the full like synopsis here in a second,
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that it is a story about the most everyman of everymen. Like, it is a story about someone who does not want to be a hero and who is thrust into that light. Like, it is isekai before I had ever experienced isekai.
Hmm.
And I think there is something to an unwilling hero that made me embrace this entire story. Before we get into the synopsis and stuff, have you ever heard about this graphic novel, this story, this author?
No.
Because he has other characters that he has created in the past.
Yeah, and has also worked with more familiar characters like Batman,
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever read anything from Matt Wagner. I'd never heard of Mage. You suggested it as part of our, Arthur journey here, but until then, no, nothing. And so I've been very curious because like it's gonna come out, and it shouldn't be a surprise. So I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't care for this. I did not care for this experience. Yeah, the look on your face, like I don't know if you expected anything different. I really do like stuff. I like so much stuff. I don't really dislike a lot in this world, but we just keep striking out.
So, okay, I have to. Okay,
But okay. Yeah, well, so I went looking for reviews of like other fans after I read it. And I was surprised that most of them were very positive because I don't really have a very positive take on this. But like so many of them at some point in their reviews mentioned the nostalgia angle. Or
I
like
get
either
that
reading it as a
100%.
kid, reading it at a young age, or when it was published, it felt unique. And I tried to like look at it again through the lens of like, okay, mid to late 80s. Would it have made any impression then on me?
So I have a request to make, and I don't normally do this, especially about things that we cover together, and especially about things that you say that you are not fond of. But
yeah,
I would like to approach this in 3 separate ways.
Okay.
The author,
Mm-hmm.
and how this story was created, almost like we're covering a video game, because we've never covered a graphic novel before on this podcast.
Right. Yeah.
So the author and where this kind of stems from, and then step 2, the writing, the narrative structure of this book, and then step 3, the art.
Okay.
I'm
cool with that.
Okay, awesome. So let's start with the beginning, and I kind of want to take the reins a little bit here.
I'm fine to give them over to you.
So this was written initially in 1984 by Matt Wagner. Wagner.
There we go again.
Man, dude, I'm all over the fucking place.
Sahara, we're back again. We never leave,
Hey, how are you?
It's whatever you just feel. How are you feeling about Matt in that moment?
So he has said that this is a self-insert audio biographical analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the character of Kevin Matchstick, who is our reborn Pendragon analog,
Mm-hmm.
the physical description of him is Matt. Like,
Yeah, he's got his.
Did you see it?
Author photo in the back of the trade. And
It's him 100%. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to be a combination of kind of the hero with 1,000 faces mixed with his own life experiences, mixed with a strong focus on the Arthurian legend.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt Wagner mixed with Joseph Campbell mixed with fucking Mallory. That's what we're looking at, right? Like it's a whole bunch of craziness.
Yeah.
So ignoring the book itself, how do you feel about an author approaching a creative work like that?
I mean, I think, we've both done our fair share of writing, and I think that's already part of the process a lot of the time is you are taking your experiences and transmuting them. Characters are based in some experience you've had or some person you've known, some aspect of them at the very least, a lot of the time, right? So there was always a bit of that. I guess I prefer it to be more veiled. Like, I don't really, and maybe it's just my opinion has changed on this recently with just the sheer onslaught of just metafiction all around us at all times now, where like,
yeah,
it's a less unique idea to have like an author insert themselves, break the fourth wall, or just like drop the veil. You know what I mean? I'm not against the idea though, but I guess I prefer it like if you're going to do that, so have some unique idea to explore there. And it could be more personalized. I'm open to that, but like maybe just with the very foundational idea there, like what it means as an author to put themselves into their work.
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like I know how much you hate the meta approach.
See, I don't hate that idea.
Well,
I
you
just
hate
feel
how
like
it's
I feel
been like
fatigue.
saturated.
We have a lot of it right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it is done slapshod.
Yeah.
Poorly.
I'm cool with either one. It's poorly.
We'll just leave it at poorly.
A lot of times it is an excuse for bad writing or being out of ideas, or just like not really knowing where to take a story, or not having the confidence to treat your story with the earnestness that it might deserve. And just like, I kind of long for more stories to just have the strength of
will to just be what they are,
my question without that aspect to it.
When do you think is the first time that you encountered that poorly done meta approach to fiction?
Oh man, I don't know.
Because this was written in 1984.
Right.
like that's kind of where like I agree with you 100%. Like this does not age well. This ages very poorly, in fact. Like,
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
But it ages poorly, for me at least, in the same way of watching a superhero movie from the late 80s, or watching Hackers, or watching, Batman, or even Batman Returns. Like, there are, I know,
Watch it.
Or even some of like the earlier like revamped Doctor Who stuff from the mid to late 90s, where like you can notice a wildly different budget and artistic style that goes into it. So like, what about um what about pieces of work like Mouse? Did you ever read Mouse?
Yeah.
Like, also written and drawn by the same gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
The same sort of thing, like the same sort of self insert, but with Mouse, it's a wildly it's nonfiction and it's heartbreaking and critical. Where this is fantastic, and when I say fantastic, I don't mean it is in like incredible. I mean it like in a fantasy way. Mouse is fantastic in like the incredible, critical, and
Like in terms of quality, right?
quality way. Where this is fantastic is in like the type of fiction it's trying to, or the type of story it's trying to tell.
That's an interesting connection to bring up. I didn't think to bring up Mouse, but now that you have, so that's one where I think it is important. It's a vital part of that narrative. You are dealing with Spiegelman's relationship to his father, right? And it's not just, I mean, you are dealing with a lot of sub narratives there and you're going through time and like jumping around a lot, but it is a very affecting story about a man's relationship with his father too. And there's a lot there for Spiegelman having inserted himself into the narrative to a certain degree and like made it more personal. And I guess in the case of Mage, is there anything like that going on here where like the text is richer for Matt Wagner putting a part of himself more obviously into the narrative? Like, or is there anything we're gaining from that? Or is it?
I think there is a noticeable difference, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, because I don't want this to be like Beau being a pedantic English major. But like with Spiegelman, the main thing that Mouse does beyond the Holocaust story is his connection with his father, right?
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah.
Right. Where this entire story is Matt Wagner's connection with isolation, with not feeling like he belongs to the world. Like, I feel like I hate to connect these two because one is a tale about someone telling a family member's experience with quite possibly the worst thing that could ever happen to a human being. Where this is a story about, and honestly, I don't think Matt Wagner's ever talked about it, but it seems like it's a tale about depression. Like, it is constantly, I don't deserve this. I'm no hero. I want to be isolated. I've never had love that has not betrayed me. Like, it is a constant fixture of this entire story in this first graphic novel of Kevin Matchstick being the everyman version of clinical depression. Or at least that's how it feels to me.
You know, I didn't really get that much out of that. Like, I did recognize that, like, he is a reluctant hero, right? And I think maybe the reason is, you just nailed it, like, the everyman. I think he's too much of an everyman, really. So it's like you say that Matt Wagner has put himself into this hero, and I see that. I see the connection there. But it's one of my main criticisms of the narrative is just, like, I don't know who Kevin Matchstick is.
I don't think he does either.
Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the very first page of this comic is such a weird beginning, and almost I did a double take. Like, did I
skip an issue?
Accidentally skip a page, because we just start mid conversation between Kevin and Mirth. Like, he's meeting Mirth on the street, and they start having an interaction that feels like it already was like halfway over, but then like we see the panel of him approaching Mirth, and it's like, is this their first meet? It's very strange. And really, it's bad writing.
So this actually goes directly into narrative structure, I think, and this is perfect because this happens 3 separate times that I noticed, and it upset me every time. Like, I walked into this knowing Edsel is a lovable character. Mirth is a scamp. You've got Kevin Matchstick. You've got the Ghost. You've got the Umbra Sprite. You've got the Grackles. The whole thing. I remembered all of it. But then I read it again. And I was like, there are, like, rudimentary storytelling mistakes done here.
Yeah.
In this published book, there is a panel where Mirth's name is spelled wrong. It is MITRH. And it is Kevin Matchstick yelling out for him in what should be an emotional panel.
No, actually, that's intentional. It was so emotional. It was, Mither! You know, he like misspoke in the
honestly,
throes of
I
passion
tried to make that excuse to myself, and it did not function. But like, there are individual time skips in the story that do not function as well as they could with a single panel of 5 months later.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating because when this story does something well, in my mind, it does it really well. The conflict between Kevin Matchstick and the Dragon of the Mists, that extra folded page that you get of him walking up to this fat, gluttonous dragon surrounded by mountains of baby skulls. And the dragon just being like, I was growing teeth that I had already lost before your people ever even knew what the spark of magic was. Like, that whole scene was so exceptionally good.
Did I read this? Did I get here? Wait. Okay, I read the first trade. We talked about reading the first trade, right? Volume 1?
Yeah. How many issues did you read? Like, where did you get to in the story?
Okay. That trade ends with like Mirth basically realizing like he is the homing signal. He's why the Grackle Flints keep finding them. And so like the last scene is like them at an ATM basically, and Mirth is about to leave the party.
Cool.
Did I not do my homework?
No, maybe I did it wrong.
Okay, I did read what you told me.
Yeah, you did.
But okay.
So I read the next 7 issues because I have a hardcover collection that has the first 15 issues collected.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think you only read the first 8.
That sounds about right. That scene sounds cool. Okay, so here's the thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, sorry. So I can't talk about that stuff, but I can only give my take on the first 7, 8 issues.
Okay, I can go back to all that, but fuck me, we're gonna have
feel free to mention some things. I guess I'll go ahead and ask you right now. It was gonna come up at some point. I have you to thank for getting me into Invincible.
Sure.
Some years back, you know, and you lent me the first trade, and I read it, and I was like, man, I am not feeling this. Why is Beau into this? And you're like, trust me, just keep going. Like, I see nothing. It's like a very generic sort of origin story, like coming of age superhero tale. I don't really see what's new, unique about it. And you're like, just trust me, read another trade. And I did. And then it takes a turn. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is what this story is. It's not what I thought it was. And, it's a hell of a gamble because there's really very little hinting at what that story is going to be in the first few issues.
Agreed.
Which is why when it does take its turn, it's so effective. And it became one of my favorite comic series. Like I burned through the entire series.
Yeah.
In like a couple weeks.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
It's brilliant. And I was right to trust you. Thank you. Do we have anything like that going on here? Like if I were to stick with, okay.
What
I feel worse than I felt like reading the first trade of Invincible. Like I have zero interest in continuing this series.
What really fucks me off is you didn't even get to the Arthur part of the comic book.
I know. Like I know what's going on because you suggested it as part of this, Arthur extravaganza. It's like, oh, okay, the bad is Excalibur, I guess, and that's what we got going on here, and we got Arthur, and we got the Merlin character with Mirth, but nothing's been, I don't know if it's made more explicit. I take it that it
is incredibly more explicit by the end of the first 15 issues.
All right, well, I got it.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this at you because you're never going to read it. And you shouldn't, honestly. Kevin Matchstick is the Pendragon reborn, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He finds that out when Edsel dies. She's shot by the dude that has the staple gun from the gel cell.
Okay, I was waiting for that to...
It does come back into play. He shoots her.
I figured it did.
She is Egwene, the Lady of the Lake. Her entire line has been the bearer of Arthur's arm, basically.
That makes sense because she's got the bat, and so it passes to our Arthur, right?
Yes. Mirth is Merlin, makes sense.
Yeah,
obviously. Mm-hmm. Is it Sean Knight?
Sean Knight, yeah.
Yeah. No fucking clue, bud. No idea.
Okay. He's one of the more interesting things about the story to me, actually.
Yeah, the idea of just like his character screams, I am an archetype, but instead he's not archetypical of anything. And it just feels so good to have just a bonus character there who's so outside of what's expected.
Yeah, I guess what I liked about it. Okay, so here's the thing. I was getting to this idea a minute ago. In that when I asked about Invincible, because the thing is, I'd have zero interest in continuing the series, but what I did see in the course of just that one trade is it gets remarkably better as it goes.
Yes, it does.
I thought, again, we talked about that first scene, dog shit first scene. Nobody's explained who they are or why. I don't care about Kevin at any point during this trade because I haven't been given, I don't know who he is. He's an everyman, but what does he do? Who is he? What is he like? The only thing I know about him, I think it's the first issue, ends with him about to be hit by an oncoming train. It's like a big splash page, and that's the big cliffhanger at the end of the first issue.
First or second,
yeah. First or second one. And I don't give a shit. And part of it is he's our protagonist. He's not going to be hit by this train. I know the tricks. This one doesn't hit. But also, it's you know what? If he were hit by that train, I don't give a shit.
Care. I don't give two shits.
All I know is that he likes cherry Coke. He says it twice in as many pages. Gotta need a cherry Coke. Okay, it's I know you like cherry Coke. I don't know anything else about you. And you're thrust in this role. And I can't care about our reluctant hero if I don't know any of his background. Why is he reluctant? What experiences has he had? Does he have some trauma? Does he have some personality traits that he's just nothing to me.
So
and maybe that's developed later on, but I need something.
There is something.
I need something.
There is something there. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown. Fuck me, I cannot believe that I fucked up this hard.
Okay, I guess we're getting Mage 101.
It seems to be that way. The issue after what you had read. Wait, no, you may have seen it already. The Marholt ogre was summoned.
Oh yeah, they're at a stadium, right? Football field or something. Where they
and he loses temper and beats the fuck out of it.
Oh shit. Oh, okay. No, I have this highlighted. I know what you're gonna say.
And he talks about the fact that he killed his own puppy.
He beat his dog to death. Okay, yeah, no.
And
right. How did I just not bring that up?
And Mirth said it was fine?
What the fuck? What the fuck? That's okay. This is The thing is, like, if it were trying to do that as a narrative, like, okay, we have a really anti-hero, like, conflicting sort of protagonist here that, like, he's been through some shit, but
maybe
the way they tell it is like,
maybe he's unmedicated, or he has like severe anger issues and he's been going to therapy his entire life. But no, none of that. No, he does horrible shit.
yeah. It was just like, it's told as a one-off, like, yeah, when I was a kid, I had a dog. It kind of annoyed me, so I beat it to death with a stick.
Yeah.
You beat a dog to death. That is budding serial killer behavior. We got fucking Jeffrey Dahmer as our Arthurian stand-in here. And then it's just like, it's fine. You were a kid. Like, no, that's not. What the fuck? How does that enter a little kid's head to do that? Like, there's something off with this guy, and then we just go on. We just roll on with it.
That was moment 2 for me of being like, holy shit, how did I not see this? But like, Mirth's reaction is like, power comes from emotion, and you're obviously a very emotional person, and so you have tons of... Fuck off. No, you're a sociopath. This is... You're absolutely psychotic. You murdered a dog with a stick because it wouldn't shake your hand at 8 weeks old or whatever.
Yeah, that's what like, he's trying to teach it a trick, right? And it's not getting it, so he just beats it to death. What the fuck? What the fuck? I can't get over this.
I'm not kidding. I had to sit it down. I had to sit the book down, and I was like, I don't know how comfortable I am anymore about doing this topic. Like, there's a chance of me actually getting online tonight when Brandon and I are going to cover this and saying, I don't know how comfortable I feel about covering it, because I think the hero is actually a villain. But so after all this shit takes place, so you get some depth for him, right? The psychopathy is depth, I guess.
Sure. But okay, I know you're going somewhere, but like, real quick, like, is that, I don't think I'm supposed to want, like, I don't think Matt Wagner wants me to feel that way about his hero, right? Am I right about that? Like, I think what he intends with that background information, that like, oh, where he's like a very emotional person and he has a power that he couldn't control or whatever, but he's still our protagonist, and we're still supposed to identify with him, and like, we're not supposed to feel critical about him on that level. We're not supposed to feel the villainous aspect. I got that the narrative didn't want me to look at him in such like a dark way, such a critical way, but I don't know.
I don't know if it did, because like, I've read the second graphic novel all the way through.
Yeah.
And Kevin Matchstick kind of sucks.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if this is a self-examination of Matt Wagner's own like insecurities, which I think would be very interesting. Like, oh my God, I made a horrible mistake as a child with, you know, like, I killed a frog or something, and now like, I'm worried about my own anger and anxieties moving forward and trying to create my own story. Like, that would be fascinating to me if that were the case.
That fascinates me.
But if you're trying to take Kevin Matchstick and instantly making him a sympathetic character because he's guilty about something he does as a child and then reverted to as an adult to make him a quote unquote warrior, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fuck off.
And that's what I thought I was trying to do. Like, oh, I think this is just a very poor choice, a very badly done that. Like, we want a sympathetic hero that has some depth, and that we are kind of exploring the origin of his power and his conflicted feelings towards it. And not like the villain, although you just brought up that idea. Like, if it were more like an exploration of like the everyman archetype and the tendency for authors to put themselves into that, and then it becomes a sort of like, going back to Kevin Matchstick, like, there's nothing unique about him, like, in terms of his personality, or like, why does he have this power? He has this power because he has it. You know, he's just destined to have it. There's nothing that
they do explain it.
Necessarily...
He has this power not because he's just necessarily born into it, but also because the power activates with struggle. So because he struggles, he has power.
But he still like has access to that power because a lot of people struggle, right?
Right.
Because of just
right. He is still the Pendragon Reborn or whatever.
And I guess that's what I mean is like I felt. I mean, that is getting very meta with it, but if it were an exploration of the archetypes and like why we identify or don't identify with them and like how much we just sort of shortcut things when we have an archetype, like, fine, I don't need the character to be like strong on their own merits because they're in the role of the protagonist, so I'll just like give them that as the reader.
So here's where I am. And maybe this is too naive of me or whatever. But Wagner wrote this when he was like 20. Mm-hmm. Like he was not even middle-aged yet when he started writing this character. Mm-hmm. So like I have a hard time trying, like, I've read my writing from when I was 18 to 26, and man alive, that shit is a rough read. So like I am very curious about his interpretation of how he feels about the early Kevin Matchstick and his like Kevin Matchstick's kind of like nihilistic examination of what it is to be a good person in the world, because that's what it ends up being, like the constant I'm no hero. I mean, fuck, dude, there's even in my hardcover edition, there's even a beautifully painted like interlude after the 15th issue where you see Kevin has kind of like embraced his own power. And this woman is in France. She's on a date with a lovely man, and they kind of have this beautiful moment, and then suddenly he turns into a Kelpie. And Kevin Matchstick shows up, and he's like, hey, met this guy at a bar. He had these kind of like attributes. This is what it was kind of like. Okay, just step behind me. I know what's happening here. And his shoes are untied. He's wearing red Converse. He's like balding on the sides, and he's got a baseball bat in his hand. And he's just like talking to this girl like, it's okay, step behind me. And he fights this Kelpie, and the Kelpie absolutely beats his ass for like 2 pages of comic books. But then he calls it by its Celtic name, by its Latin name, by its Russian name. Like, he knows the information, he knows the lore, and he ends up beating it and killing it effectively. And the last thing he says to the girl is like, hey, just in the future, be careful with who you take home. And walks away. And I don't know how to feel about that. Like, this character, through this entire story, some of which you didn't necessarily get to see, but like, I just told you the end of his growth. Accepting his power, accepting Excalibur being the bat, and accepting kind of like his place in the world being a protector of the innocent. Right?
Yeah.
But just showing up and being like, oh, well, you should have seen what this guy is. Excuse me. And then killing it, and then being like, hey, next time, be careful who you fuck. And just going off into the shadows. Like, that's not a hero to me.
Yeah. I didn't, again, with Kevin, at no point and again, just with my very limited experience of what I read, at no point did I see. The only reason anyone is what they are is because I'm told that's what they are. You know what I mean? Like no one is earning what they're supposed to be on their own rights. It's just like they're in the role of that, and the narrative tells me they're that, and so he's our hero or he's our mentor or whatever they are. But nothing just sort of evolves naturally from the narrative itself, you know?
And what really sucks is after the moment that you ended, like the moment your reading stopped, whenever Mirth went into the ATM, the story jumps forward 5 months. Where it has been 5 months of Kevin, Edsel, and Alan working together to track down the Grackles and to track down the Red Caps and to track down the Umber Sprite.
Yeah.
And so, like, where you ended is actually, like, where a series would end, but it does not give you any of the extra story leading up to Kevin Matchstick being an Arthur analog, which fucking sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, I got enough to know. And I guess part of me is sort of like hesitant to go too far because it's like maybe some of this stuff gets worked out and, after the fact that, he corrects some of these problems later on and we learn more about these characters and I see what's missing. But I think one trade is enough to go on for just like, have you given me a reason to keep reading? And no, I haven't been given a good reason to keep reading to care enough. And everything you just described with like returning to this hero over the years and thinking about the author's age when he wrote and drew this first series, and then return to this character different times through his life as he got older and got wiser and had more experience. I love that idea. And I love exploring how an author might approach this archetype at different ages and what that says about how we grow and learn and reflect our worldview at that time. I think that's fascinating. And that would be a really interesting additional dimension to a comic if I liked the comic itself. Like if I enjoyed the process of reading it, that would be an additional interesting thing to talk about. Right?
Right.
But I don't. I just don't like what's here. I don't like what's on the page. And so all that additional stuff is like interesting stuff to think about and to consider, like the actual process of writing it and where these ideas came from and what it says about the author or like our approach to heroes at different ages and times of our lives. But what's here is not very compelling, I gotta say.
See, for me, it's much like we talked about in King Arthur 101. Like, I love Edsel and Mirth. Kevin Matchstick, I could give or take. Like, I love the idea, like you said, of having an author re-examine a story 10 years later and then 15 years later after that. Like, that is super, super cool to me. And the fact that Matt Wagner did that is exceptional because I've read his work with Grendel and Batman. Like, I've seen other things that he has done, and he is very, very good at what he does. But in this like passion project of his, I feel like it was too safe. Like, either make Kevin Matchstick an anti-hero or 100% a hero. Instead, the entire time it's, I don't want to do this. I'm not a part of it. I don't believe in any of it. I don't want to do any of it. And it's like, man, fuck off. Like, we're 8 issues in. We are 80 issues in to your story, and you're still being a stubborn jackass. And that's just not good for me.
It just feels like kind of non-committal, but then also just confused about what it actually wants. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's the product of a young creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Someone who's coming into their own, because it gets better as it goes. And I think that's most evident in the art. The art gets so much better.
I was I was so looking forward to talking about art with you on this one, because
yeah,
it starts off pretty simplistic, but it does some shit like on the later issues that is a really good time.
Yeah, overall, like I would never go so far as to say like I didn't really care for it even by the end of it, but I could see noticeable improvement, I guess is what I'm saying. And there are some panels that I think are genuinely good. I think a lot of the early art is just bad. It's there's like inconsistent proportions in the characters. The line work is kind of hit and miss. You know, there's like places where it should be bolder than it is, like where stuff is like foregrounded, and it's not. I think like the line work just doesn't like express what is going on in the panel. There's like a lot of like newbie mistakes, like visual tangents, which what I mean by that is like you have like your forearm maybe held out towards the viewer in the panel, and like the line of the forearm terminates in like the exact same where the line of like the collar originates. So you have like a consistent line of like two different things in space. Like a better composition would like space those things out so you don't have those visual tangents where like lines from different objects lead into one another and confuse your eye for a moment.
Sure.
Stuff like that, where like a more experienced artist would know to avoid those things and like turn the camera a little bit, like position things in space a little bit differently so you just don't have those visual tangents. Stuff like that. Stuff doesn't have detail, like we're supposed to be in these like kind of grimy alleys, or like at one point Kevin mentions like, oh, this empty subway platform is really creepy, but like nothing in the environment signals that it's creepy because there's no cracks in the tiles, there's no graffiti, there's no grime, there's no grit or any texture to this world. You know,
so
it's just lacking.
I think that this is where we're going to actually disagree.
Okay.
Because I think something that Matt Wagner does better than a lot of artists, especially artist writers, because there aren't a lot of those,
right,
is his use of simplicity when it comes to panels. Like, there's when Kevin Matchstick is leaping in front of the train, the panel showing him leaping, there is no background. It is just a panel. Open, no borders whatsoever.
Right.
Of him leaping in front of the train. And that is something I think that even as a young artist, Matt Wagner does really, really well in using negative space, whether it's shading it in a way that like puts it to the side or just not using it at all. I think I do agree with you that there are some pretty noticeable perspective issues. But I think when it comes to both panel layout and sheer creative ability, I don't know how old he was when he made this in 1984. I'm assuming mid-20s, late 20s. But like, old boy is putting in work. And being able to do several pages with panels that are able to be cogent without using dialogue boxes, or I don't know if you noticed, in this comic book, there are no narrative boxes.
Which kind of we talked about earlier. Maybe it would have been helpful at a few points.
At a few points.
I I like not using them, but then like, okay, well, if you're not going to use them, then you need to write it around that.
The 5 months later, like finding out that it's 5 months later, 2 pages after 5 months later actually happened is a little frustrating. But like,
yeah,
the fact that you don't have to worry about like distinct environment changes and it's done instead through the panel is exceptionally well done, especially for a young creator. And, you know, I don't want to give him more credit for being a young creator versus being an old creator, because I have not read The Hero Denied yet. And I am planning on doing it because I want to finish this series out. But the fact that there are pages, 3 or 4 pages in a row with no dialogue, and even with those, a story is continuing to be told from different perspectives. I don't know many artists, or God forbid, writer artists that can do that well.
So I actually just looked. He was born in 1961, so he was like 23.
So
maybe like, well, it was published 84, so you think like maybe he's 21, 22 when he's working on this, you know?
He's a baby.
So very impressive. And yeah, I mean, I find it impressive just the artist writer already. I do want to make that clear. Like I don't know how much he had done at that point and how long he'd been working in the medium, but
not long. I think he'd done a little bit of Grendel before this.
Okay. I mean, it couldn't have been long just based on his age, right? So as like an early project, like there's a lot of impressive stuff here. But again, like the stuff that grabs my attention that's most glaring are like the issues. And like, I do think there's a good use of negative space. I do. And there's some very bold compositions, and then the colors are very good. And there's some effective stuff. I think it's that the problem is those are most effective. Those, you talked about the panel where just like the background is completely non-existent, right? Or we just have like a flat color or things like that. Those are best used in juxtaposition with a different sort of texture or composition or layout where they're an anomaly, right? And if we had those hit after like a properly, and I'm not looking for much, like I don't need like Jim Lee pencils on this thing, right? But the fact that like at a certain point, at a few points, like narratively, like characters feel the need to say aloud what the current atmosphere of a location is. Like, it's pretty creepy here. It's like, I'm seeing nothing in this art to show me that. Like, I don't feel that this is a creepy subway platform. I don't feel that this is a sort of like grimy, like out of the way alley where a crime would be likely to take place, because I don't see the grime. There's just not enough there. There's not enough texture there, you know?
So what about instances where it's like, hey, Sean, his name was Sean. I called him Alan a while back. That's not correct. But they were like, no, you don't have to join us for this interrogation. We'll get Sean. But why? And then it's a completely empty panel, and it's like, Sean can be scary. And it's just like this beautiful red thing around him exuding. Like, he can exude fear. And then the panel is just him exuding this like bright red light behind him. Very, very clever. But what I think for me, what I really want to push here before we like get into like faces and shit is, if we even get into that, is when Edsel dies. It is, I could be mistaken, and Matt, if you're listening, please come at me. But I'm pretty sure it is panel on top, 3 panels, and then panel, and then Edsel being shot, and then like it hitting her stomach and her being launched off of where the panels are supposed to end. So like she is launched damn near off page,
Mm-hmm.
and then panel underneath. Like, again, this is a 25-year-old making use of panels that Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman have not done yet. Like, he is making some wild choices, and it's really fucking cool. I will say, again, I agree with you. This story does not hold up well.
That's interesting, though. I wouldn't know without like going back through some Gaiman and more. Just like, is there more creativity? And I know they're not the artists, but in some of their works, then I don't know. I can't really say. I can't remember. But sometimes it is with a younger creator, like you get the issues, you get the mistakes, right? They're still trying to find their footing, and they're still making, like I mentioned, some like kind of rookie mistakes with the art. But you get like an energy and a willingness to just experiment and just throw stuff at the wall.
Just fuck about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some cool, like, I feel like I've been so negative. I have. I liked some of the panels you brought up. I had some page numbers here. Page 14, there's like a big wham when Kevin slams the mugger into the distance, and like the silhouette is like a little tiny flying form and the huge wham. And there's some stuff like that with like playing with the medium, like you mentioned, Edsel getting knocked through the panels or like off page, reminding you that you're reading a comic. Like, this is a comic book, and we're gonna play around with the composition and lean into that. You know, we're already kind of like dancing around with like sort of metafictional aspects. So I like that. Like, yeah, bring that stuff to the fore. The introduction of Sean, I think that's the moment where I really saw like this art is taking a noticeable turn. And it was really impressive to me. Like, man, 4, 5, 6 issues in, he's really developing his craft and improving it noticeably. There's a panel when Sean first is like, he like is confronting Mirth and Kevin because he still believes that he's a police officer. Like, he doesn't know that he's a ghost yet. He
Public defender.
Dead.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry. That's right. Yeah. He's a public defender. But he's got a gun, and he's aiming it like at almost like the viewer. It's like sort of not directly at the front of the panel, but like just off. But like the foregrounding of the barrel, like, yeah, coming towards the reader, and it's a very good composition. It's drawn well. You get like his sweating, and you just feel the intensity of that moment. It's a very that panel had a lot of energy to it, and it was noticeable because up until that point, I felt like a lot of the panels early on where like action is taking place really lacked energy, and I saw where he was making up for it with like heavy blur effect. So like you would have, I don't know, like a thrown trash can lid and like a brawl, and like nothing in the composition or the way it's drawn is really describing that energy. Like, these do feel like static objects in space. It just is lacking certain techniques to really sell that motion. So you just throw on the Photoshop blur, and then it's like, well, that thing is blurred, so it's moving in space, and it is like a really kind of cheap effect. It's not aesthetically consistent, and I really didn't like it. And I saw less of that as we went on because he was arranging the panels and just drawing at a higher level of ability. It was cool. It's cool to see.
Okay, so I have 3 questions to end us out for this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start with, would you keep reading? And I think it's going to be a no.
I think I said that. Yeah, I wouldn't source this. So I wouldn't continue reading this series. And if I didn't know who King Arthur was, see, that's the thing. I don't know. Like, this narrative, if you take away the angle of, hey, and it's also based in Arthurian legend, like, then there's even less to compel me to read it, right? It's like, if this story just existed on its own merits. But anyway, like, I can't imagine reading this and if I didn't know who King Arthur was, like, well, I can't wait to figure out the source of Kevin Matchstick. Wait, this hero that I know and love, and the way that he beats dogs to death, I gotta know, like, what legend is that based upon?
I was gonna say,
I wouldn't source it.
Question 2.
Yeah.
I think you read 7 or 8 issues. I think 7. What could have been done to make you keep reading?
I think I just need to care about Kevin, really. That would have done a lot. Because, like, I could see other things improving as I went, like I keep mentioning. Like, okay, I can see that this is going to get better. I just, if I don't care about our protagonist, then how do I care about the conflict?
God, you sound so
like,
much like me now, and it makes me so happy.
I sound like you? I feel like I sound like me, which is just as negative as ever.
No, just the idea of, like, I have to care about the protagonist or I can't care about the thing. Like,
yeah, sure. Yeah.
And
the thing is, like, the conflict isn't compelling in its own right. It's not like, well, I could get into this if it weren't for our just shitty protagonist. But no, nothing about it is really unique. Like, the big bad is, I don't know, he's just like, why is he doing what he's doing? He's bad. And, like, all of the henchmen, the underlings, the grackle flints, they are all, like, identical, so you can't even, like, invest in their various personalities. They're just all
they have is individual powers.
Yeah, but I mean, who's who and why?
Did you get that far?
I did. Well, I saw that they were different. Yeah, they had different aspects to themselves. Like, some of them could do things that others couldn't.
Yeah, like Laszlo was a telepath. Pietro could fly. Stannis was something, and Emil had initiative. He was the most dangerous because he was the only grackle flint that did not buckle to their father's whim. Okay.
Grackle flint. Just, I'm looking through my notes here, and I just have, there's no explanation around this quote, but it's, no, it happens again. One of those I spoke to you of, those who will know you and join you, is again at the mercy of a grackle flint. Like, sorry, this is fucking goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, okay, here's, I want to answer your question. Okay, because there's one thing I liked. No, I mean, there are things I like. There's one thing I pulled out in particular that I thought was very cool. And if I had more of this, I would have had more reason to keep reading. So it's when Sean, our public defender, is realizing what he is. And Mirth is explaining it to him to help him realize what he is. And Mirth explains how ghosts function in this universe.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It was really interesting. It's all these new facilities stem from the fact of your new condition. Since you're no longer alive, you now operate on and are subject to an entirely different system of energy. It's the source of your power and of your growing amnesia. Your mind no longer uses the normal electromagnetic impulses it's been used to. So all your stored memories are gradually slipping away. But because of this, you have a certain amount of control over electrical impulses. You're somewhat of an empty battery. That panel, that bit of lore there, is the most interesting thing in this entire trade.
And what's funny is that happens about 4 more times.
That's a really interesting idea, and I like the explanation of it, and then this idea of, like, we have this growing power in this character as he's losing himself. It's like they're part of the same process. He's going to have access to other things as he's losing his memories, and then we have, like, this sort of quote unquote scientific explanation for it, mystical explanation for it. That was cool. I think some more of that.
I want to toss this out there, and then we'll get to plugs and stuff. But, like, Sean's character, like, as soon as that happens and he figures out what's happening and he embraces it, and then after where you ended, Mirth absolutely dips out, and they have 5 months where Sean is basically playing recon. Like, he is just trying to find information and find where the grackles are and shit.
Mm-hmm.
The Umbra sprite summons a mist dragon. Like, one of the old ones, quote unquote. Sean straight up stands his ground and tries to out fear a dragon and is killed for it. And it's fucking cool. Like, I think I think that's what kind of frustrates me about this whole thing is like, I think the first 5 issues of Mage, maybe the first 6 issues of Mage, are some of the weakest storytelling for a miniseries ever. And then after that, shit ramps up so fast. Because after, I think at episode or issue 5 is when you find out about Sean, and you start having Mirth being like the exposition boy, and things start getting crazy. It's just like, fuck, man.
Yeah, we got the party together. We know, even though I said I don't really feel much about the conflict, we have the conflict established, and we're moving. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I'm not compelled, but I could see like, oh, I kind of wish this trade. I kind of wish this trade had a encounter with a dragon. I've heard about. I wish it were a few issues longer.
I am so bummed out that your trade was not my trade, because my trade is the first 15 issues.
Yeah,
and it ends with like the end of the first conflict with the Umbra Sprite. And you have complete closure.
Well, might not have been enough, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. Hopefully. But then, I don't know, maybe I find out that, like, I don't know, Kevin also, like, beat the neighborhood kid to death or something. I was going to say, it's like, it just makes it worse.
he just absolutely just, like, stick beat an infant.
Yeah. Okay. But, hey. And with a positive. So, to sum it up, yeah, I have a lot of criticisms of this. I didn't like it. But I think it's cool to look at a creator's early work and to see experimentation and ambition in that early work. I think that's very telling. I can't really speak to it because I haven't engaged with Matt Wagner's work, but as much as I am not interested in checking out more of Mage, I am interested in checking out more of Matt Wagner. And I would like to see more from him, because just like being an author and a writer and doing just even meeting like a baseline functionality in both of those at once. And then like if you are able to actually excel in some areas in one or the other, or both, like in a Mike Mignola kind of case, like,
I've tried to
I
write.
Find it very admirable.
I've tried to write a comic book before. I took a class on it in college, learning to write a graphic novel. It fucking sucks. The idea of doing that and doing the art for it at the same time is baffling to me. It's godly. It is.
Yeah.
It's something that a normal human being should not be able to accomplish.
Yeah, and it's not a favorite example of that. Like, I don't know, for me it would be like Hellboy or Scott McCloud. Like, I actually see some similarities with Zot here. Maybe it's just because of like the big lightning bolt on Kevin's chest. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I love Zot. I'm a big fan of that one. I love any time, whether it's good or bad, I think it's a treat to see an unfettered creator that has like complete control, or at least control over as many aspects of the process as possible, and to really see, like, you get a little mini deep dive into a human brain, like how they want to express, like, because they are showing you exactly what they want to show you, and no one else is inputting into this. I think that's really cool. I mentioned with the ghost stuff, there were some cool ideas here. And yeah, maybe it could go somewhere neat in series 2 and 3.
Matt,
I don't know.
Hey, Matt.
You let me know about series 3 when you get there.
Hey, Matt, it's Beau. Hey, bud. It does go someplace neat. I appreciate. God damn. Dude, I've been reading your shit forever.
Hey, Matt. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm the way I am. It's not just you. There's a whole... We have a lot of episodes around.
I was going to say,
this is me.
Please listen to our backlog of Brandon being incredibly Brandon.
I think I was nicer to you than I was to Jeff Roven, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
No, you
don't
were.
Quote me on that.
No. You were. Jeff Roven's our fucking Ahab at this point, man. But thank you so much for listening. This, if you got it this far, email us if you've ever encountered some of Matt Wagner's wonderful works at sourcenotfoundpod@gmail.com.
And don't email us if you've ever beaten a dog to death. We don't want to hear from you.
We really don't. Check us out on Discord, on Blue Sky at sourcenotfoundpod, at any of the other social networks and shit. But the most important one you could check out would be our Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
We do some wild shit over there. Please jump over to our Patreon, check it out. Donate if you can. If you can't, we understand. We're just happy you listen. Brandon, what are you doing over on Twitch? So
it's been Jankuary all year long.
Until March. Manku Arch?
Actually, no, I didn't come up with this. A follower did. But they mentioned that March could be Marky March and the Funky Bunch. And then I thought that's pretty good. And then if we just tweak it slightly, so maybe Marky March and the Janky Bunch? Or
pretty
Janky
good.
Bunch?
That's pretty good.
It's I had nothing for February, so at least it's something. Anyway, yeah, because of certain stretch goals on the Twitch channel, I have not played a non-Janky game since I think it was January 3rd. I was finishing up 1000 Times Resist, which has become one of my favorite games in recent memory. Check out 1000 Times Resist if you haven't. It's amazing. Absolutely incredible. I forgot what it's like to be free, but I am now free.
Do you want to know something
I don't know
wild?
what I'm going to do with all this freedom.
You want to hear something absolutely wild? I just platinumed my first game ever.
What did you platinum?
Spider-Man 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
My first platinum ever. I feel like a grown video game adult.
Yeah, although it's actually much more of a child thing, I think, to...
You shut your fucking
trophies.
cake hole.
What? No, I mean, I have 20-something, so who's the adult now?
Right,
I just
come
mean
on. Christ alive.
No, I mean, no, it's not a juvenile behavior. I mean, childhood was a time where, and especially since back then I had,
sure,
2 or 3 games a year.
This is awesome.
You do everything in them.
You're doing great, bud.
It's time.
Yeah,
you have the time. You have the time for
that's
that.
Awesome.
We're adults. We have jobs and we do a podcast and we do other shit. We can't get the platinums I would love to. I wish I had 100 platinums.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. How does it feel to punch your best friend in the nuts real hard?
It's not, no, we're back at the xenomorph. It's not what I mean.
Yeah. How does it feel to really just
I'm so proud of my platinums. I'm so proud of my platinums.
Yeah, I was really proud of my first one until you punched me in the taint. Beau, your platinum doesn't matter. You're a baby. You're a baby child. A baby child with your one platinum.
Okay, which one are you mad about?
I don't know.
Am I making fun of you for having too many or too few platinums?
I don't know anymore. Check your toilet for platinums.
A platinum doo-doo? What is your most platinum dookie?
It's when you dookie in all of the toilets. Then you hit platinum.
All the toilets plural? In a public restroom?
Fuck, dude, I don't know.
In one bowel movement? You pinch off a little bit for each subsequent toilet?
Please
keep enough in reserve so you can hit them all?
You have to cut this.
This stays in.
Just like the platinum dookie.
We didn't even didn't even do the housekeeping. Twitch.tv/LeJuneBug is where you can hear me talking to a mic for hours on end.
You want to hear that, don't you? About platinum dookies.
I'm doing the hard sell here. Also, theme song by Jesse Jelena, aka Saint Coelacanth. Amazing theme song. Even if you don't like what you're currently hearing, you remember the theme song, right? The theme song was good at the beginning. You remember that? That was cool.
Remember that? That was a good time. That was a good time for everybody.
Go to his YouTube and you can hear a bunch of music and not listen to us talk about taking bowel movements to different toilets in the span of one doo-doo session. Yeah, we should go now. I don't think xenomorphs are sexy.
Okay, wait, hang on. Is it the mouth that comes out of the mouth? Is that what you like?
I don't like any of it. I'm just saying they're phallic. I'm just saying they're phallic and they're very wet and viscous and dripping and they like sauna around in like a... It's intention. It's not me. I'm not projecting.
So which mouth is the good mouth, Brandon?
I'm more into like the back of the head.
Oh, God!